Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Adi Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where I feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, optimize, and implement processes and procedures so companies can scale and thrive. And today's guest is Laura Moran. Hi, Laura.
Hello.
It's nice to have you on this podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. And I'd like to give a big shout out to Nancy Fox, once more introducing me to a great podcast guest. And Nancy is the founder of Productize. And you were a client of Nancy's, so definitely we're going to touch upon productizing your services. And I think it's going to be a fabulous, very intriguing conversation. At least for me, I'm very curious to hear about what you created and how you came about creating it. But first, I am going to read your bio so the listeners know what we're going to talk about. So you are the CEO and founder of LPM, LPM Innovate, and the creator of Pet Spark Navigator, a proven framework that helps pet food companies accelerate growth through strategic innovation. So formerly leading innovation for Mars 6 billion dry pet food portfolio, and you're inventor of Temptations cat treats. You also served as VP product and sourcing at Barc, where your team launched over 150 products and led strategic sourcing for consumables. Today, you partner with companies to align R&D with business strategy, reduce time to market, and drive sustainable market-leading innovation. So first of all, that's very impressive. And how did you end up going from corporate, like big names, big accounts, to having your own company?
Yes, so it was a journey. So after a long time working at Mars, I decided that I needed a change. And so I first of all went to a smaller family-owned business in a different industry, so in frozen potatoes and vegetables, thinking that that would be like a baby company to get started. However, that really wasn't the right fit nor the right time, because that's when the pandemic hit and people were not going to restaurants to eat French fries. So then I found Barc, which was a startup company that was growing like a hockey stick during the pandemic, because they had a subscription business of treats and toys that consumers can play with their dogs. And so since everybody was home, business was booming. And so I joined them and helped them basically set up a lot of basics of a pet food company, because I was one of the first people to join them with pet food experience. And then after a while there, I realized that my skill set in a big company, where I learned a lot of tools and frameworks and had the opportunity to work with many consulting firms like IDEO, Bain, McKinsey, Boston Consulting Group, companies like that, I had all these frameworks. And then when I was at Barc, I simplified them to work in a more agile environment, and often did that on the fly in very short time. So when I stepped back from Barc, I realized that I could help a lot of pet food companies, and I could also help elevate the industry as a whole by sharing these tools and frameworks with pet food companies. And so that was my inspiration to go into consulting and figure out how to do that.
Okay. So then you went into consulting. So you were basically in the service industry, servicing and
Yes,
consulting.
right.
And then you decided to productize your service.
Right. Yeah. And that's where I met Nancy through networking, but I was intrigued by what she was talking about. And when I think about what I wanted to do, I was doing things one-on-one with clients. And then I realized that, hey, I have these tools, I have these frameworks. I could turn that into a product that then I can serve multiple people or multiple companies, and maybe even move outside of the pet food industry, because the challenges that I see in the pet food industry also exist in the food industry. And also now what I'm hearing is that this is like a common challenge more broadly. So that's kind of where I'm at in terms of product sizing some of my tools and frameworks.
Good. So let's talk about, how do you productize a service? Like what are the steps that you went through in order to do that?
Right. So the steps I went through were to figure out, like, where, what is the root cause for some of the challenges that happen in bringing new products to market. And as I dug deeper, I recognized that there was um, like a disconnect between the R&D folks, or the technical staff, and the rest of the business. Like, so not everybody was aligned, or everybody thought they were aligned but not really aligned. And so I focused in on first on one tool, which is a design thinking tool that helps define the product that you want to create. But it's a process that's more, it's a collaboration tool as well, to for people then to have the conversations cross-functionally within an organization, to ensure that the design of the product is accurate, and it means the same thing to everybody across the organization. So as you move through this timeline to deliver it, everybody's on the same page. And so that's kind of where, my focus was on this tool. And the
Is
reason
that a
why
tool that a company uses by themselves, or is that a tool that you are using with them? I mean, is it a collaborative tool, or is it a tool of do it yourself? How does it work?
Yeah, so how it works is that I have a couple steps that I go through with a company. So the first step is to you usually meet with the CEO or a COO, of understanding what their needs are in this area, or what their pain points are, and then also identify, let's say, 3 to 5 products that they want to launch coming up, right? Because I want my work to be pragmatic within the organization, not theory. And so once I understand that, then I have a 1-day strategy intensive session with the R&D team, as well as a cross-functional team. So we go through the tool or the framework, and as they learn the different aspects of it, the outcome is that we have 3 to 5 projects that are better defined, and we have I have a critical roadmap and key questions that need to be answered if they're not there. So at the end of the day, I've embedded the knowledge, and have provided the company with a pragmatic approach to, hey, I've got to get these 3 to 5 products out in the marketplace, and here's the next steps. And then from there, I offer a coaching program. So usually, like, we start with like 4 months of where I just continue to work with either an individual or a group of individuals to continue to embed those skills and embed that behavior that they have. And so with that, I have, which do I offer? I have like 12 topics. So each week I kind of cover a new topic a little bit, and then kind of help them with their ensuring that those products get launched. And then kind of keep going from there. And then after that, if the company would like to keep me on, then I stay on as an advisor for the company. So that's kind of how I've productized embedding innovation processes and tools within a smaller company.
Good. So how does Pet Spark navigation systems, how does that play into the process you just described?
Well, that is the navigator system. All those are the key steps. And so, the first step is what I call it's a diagnostic or a scan of understanding the company's innovation needs. Then we have a sprint, which is embedding the tools and getting those 3 to 5 products designed. And then we have an alignment period for about 4 months to align and kind of keep products moving, keep the projects moving, and provide expertise, and really embed and encourage that collaboration across the organization. And then
right. So the way you productize it is you basically systematized your approach, so you can take somebody through a systematic journey to the end.
Right, exactly.
Beautiful. Okay. So, you basically took, this is an example of taking like a chaotic reactive process into a strategic systematized process.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Because, when I joined Barc, it was chaotic. Like, what are we launching? Is everybody on the same page? And then, not only at Barc, but also at other companies, what I noticed is that if somebody wasn't on board, then at the 11th hour, somebody raises their hand and say, nope, this is not what I signed up for, right? And then you have this crisis, a crisis mode. And that's what costs companies money. That's what delays product launches and causes all sorts of problems. And so, what I learned at the big company is that when products are clearly defined, the execution goes very smoothly, right? And so what I've done is try to figure out how do I compress all of that for companies that have a smaller staff, might not have all the processes and documentations like what you help companies to help put into place. Yeah. And then kind of, put something in place so that way we are all climbing that mountain together and can launch that product at the same time.
I think it's brilliant. So what were some of the results that you observed by using the Pet Spark Navigator system?
Right. So what the results I've seen is that there are fewer crises at the end of the launch, right? There are, early on, you have conversations of, oh, I didn't know that's what you meant by that. So you kind of have this alignment of understanding of what it is the product launch, we are going to launch. There's alignment on claims. So that's a big deal in the food industry, and particularly in the pet food industry, about the language that you can say for claims. And so, early on, we align on what that language, what's legal, what's not legal. So that way everything is just much smoother process along the way. And what I find for the R&D team members is that when they learn more business skills, because that's part of what I want to do, is help the technical staff gain more business skills. But then they're not redoing things. They're not in a chaotic environment. So basically your technical staff is happier and more engaged and less likely to jump ship to another company in a short period of time.
That's right. That's exactly right. You obviously, you understand the importance of systems, right? I mean, you've seen it from going to big corporations where you have systems, you have SOPs, I would assume,
Yes,
right?
yes.
To businesses that don't have that, so you can see the before and or the comparison and why is it so important in order for the business to actually thrive and do well.
Right, exactly. And then what I also see in smaller companies is actually a fear of systems and processes.
Tell me about that.
Because that's that whole entrepreneurial spirit. Like I want to launch this. I'm going to disrupt the industry because I can do it faster. Or I have this great idea and I just want to go do it. And and in smaller companies, you can do that, right? Because maybe you only need to make 500 units, right? Whereas at a much larger company, you're looking at a 50 or $100 million launch, right? So you do need all those checks and balances in place. And so what I see is that in a smaller company, like how do like leave room for, we have the idea and we can move fast. But if people are not all on board or you're not clear of what you're doing, you could be moving fast but then still get nowhere at the end because you didn't have everybody on board, or you didn't think of everything, or you didn't do some of the very simple risk assessments that need to be done as you move from idea to commercialization.
Right, exactly. That's exactly right. So it is a misconception, as you just said yourself, like I didn't say it in those words, but that's what it is. It's a misconception. I don't need it because I'm an entrepreneur, but you do, because otherwise you cannot actually have the freedom, because you become you are become a slave of that chaos.
Right. Or you end up with a big mistake, which if something goes wrong, then many smaller companies are using third-party manufacturers to manufacture their product. So if something isn't right, you're stuck with a bill, $50, $100, $200,000 bill that could have been avoided if you spent a little bit of time following a very simple process along the way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Laura, if people want to get a hold of you and find out more about what you do and connect with you, how can they do that?
They can reach me at laura@getpetspark.com, or you can reach out to me through LinkedIn.
Okay, great. And we'll include all those links in the show notes. So I want to thank you for being a guest on this podcast. That's been a very interesting conversation, and really a great example to show how you can take a service, make it into a process that then can be repeated over and over again in order to measure success. So that's a great example.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.